Champions Trophy, 3 points to consider. Firstly, who has the best draw? And this will have a huge impact on the outcome of this tournament in terms of the venues they play and what venues suit certain sides. Second point is dew. There are a number of venues during this tournament that are greatly affected by dew, more so than others. So which ones are they? And that will affect the toss. So sides that end up batting first, where dew is a big factor, will be at a huge disadvantage, something you need to consider. And thirdly, who will make the semi-finals and why? Group A, you have Pakistan, India, Bangladesh and New Zealand. Firstly, Group A, I'm going to talk about Pakistan. And if I look at Pakistan's likely playing 11, I guess the areas of concern for me are spin bowling. You've got Abrar, who is a quality spin bowler but relatively inexperienced. Then you're making up the rest with Salman Ali Agha, who if the spin in the surface is very effective, if not, probably not quite so much, Kushtil Shah. So those are your three spinners. Now, none of those you would say are experienced in World Cup or World Cup tournaments. For me, and I am a fan of Shadab Khan, so I'll put that out there now, but I think that he makes the squad, or would make the squad, far stronger from a balance perspective, would also give you that wicket taker through the middle on these flat surfaces. So I think they've missed a trick by not having Shadab Khan in that squad. The other point is Tayyib Tahir. I've got him down there at 6, and I think he's made a late shift to be a finisher, and he's done a really good job so far because it's such an unfamiliar role for him. But that's an area where Pakistan, the likes of Saud Shakil, who's probably better at the top of the order, I think we know that. So they're trying to find a slot for him, and that's obviously putting Babar Azam out of position. I'm not so worried for Babar because I think the surfaces at this time of year in Pakistan will suit his batting. It's not like it's going to zip around and make batting at the top difficult, and it gives him the best opportunity to make a big score. For me, it's the flow-on effects. I guess Saud Shakil is going to have to play and are going to have to step up from a number 3 perspective. Bowling-wise, seamers are very good, but for me, as I said, all round, I think their spin bowling is probably a little bit of an Achilles heel in terms of how far they'll progress in this tournament. India. Well, India have got a very good draw in the fact that they're playing all their games at the Dubai Stadium. They'll obviously get to know the venue. If they make the playoffs, they'll once again continue to play at Dubai. So that is a distinct advantage. The one factor, however, is that dew will definitely be a factor. So therefore, the toss could potentially even games up, where India, I think, will probably have the strongest squad, regardless of who they play. Now, if we're looking at their likely 11, it's pretty settled. So I guess the only contentious issues is around the KL Rahul, Rishabh Pant. I know Rishabh Pant has got a recent injury. Not sure how serious that is. But I think KL Rahul seems to be the one that India are going to go with. For me, I guess the concern is they're a little bit light from a seam bowling perspective. They brought in Varun Chakravarti, which is fine, but they brought him in at the expense of another seam bowler. So, well, they brought him in for Jaiswal actually, but so they've got 5 spin bowlers, which is too many, in all honesty. Even if you're going to play 3 on certain surfaces, to be able to carry an extra 2 spin bowlers, I think, is excessive. Not sure how they're going to get Varun Chakravarti into the 11, because you've got the all-rounders of Jadeja and Akshar Patel, who's played extremely well in the last series, ODI series against England. So I don't think either of those are under threat. Therefore, you don't play the off-spinner. So you've always got the ball spinning away from the right-hander and into the left-hander. So that is a little bit of an area of concern. Kuldeep Yadav is that X-factor through the middle, has been in tremendous form the last 12 to 18 months, and I think it would be pretty hard to leave him out. So I think that's pretty settled. Shami and Ashdeep will be the 2 seamers. So it's a really well-balanced side. Hardik Pandya will be the 3rd seamer and that all-rounder. So even though they've had some injuries, a huge loss in Bumrah, which takes India back to the pack a little bit, I still think they sit as one of the sides to beat in this Champions Trophy. Bangladesh. Well, I think they are a side who will not benefit from the draw. They're playing 2 games in Rawalpindi, which will be high scoring, will be flat. It's also a little bit colder this time of year further north in Pakistan, so dew won't be as big a factor as it is in other grounds. So therefore, They will be high scoring. The sides that have the biggest, the power-packed batting lineups will be really hard to defend. And if those sides are able to control the first 40 overs, anything's possible in the last 10 to 15 overs in Rawalpindi. From a Bangladesh perspective, the seamers are better than they have been. I think the likes of Mustafizur, Taskin Ahmed is bowling really nicely and quick at the moment, and they've got Nahid Rana as well. So their seam bowling is probably better than it has been at previous world events. But I think from a spin bowling perspective, in terms of Rishad Hesson, he probably won't get much from the surface. So therefore, he will become a little bit easier to hit down the ground than he is in the grounds in Bangladesh. Bangladesh are coming from surfaces where they hold a little bit. There's always a little bit of nibble for the seamers. Sure, there's dew, but there's always something on offer. And generally, the scores are significantly lower than I think we will see in Rawalpindi. So I think Bangladesh, although they're coming into this tournament, the new coach and Phil Simmons, they'll have some high expectations. I think they will struggle. And some of that will be, as I said, I don't think they're playing on surfaces that will suit the squad. New Zealand. Obviously, they've hit the Champions Trophy in tremendous form, having won the recent tri-series with South Africa and Pakistan in Pakistan, so very familiar with the conditions. They won all 3 matches. They also beat Afghanistan by 2 wickets in their warm-up match, where they pretty much gave everybody an opportunity. So from a New Zealand perspective, they couldn't really be in better touch than they are right now. I guess the biggest challenge for New Zealand is that they play at 3 different venues. So Karachi, obviously familiar at that, having played during the tri-series. They'll move to Rawalpindi, where they play Bangladesh, and I think they will be better suited to that facility than Bangladesh will, and I think that's probably an advantage. The next one, they'll fly across and play India in Dubai, which, they've played a number of games there in the past, but as I said, dew will be a big factor. So if New Zealand end up having to bowl second, they could well find that very difficult. In terms of the squad, they have had some concerns, issues around injury. They lost Ben Sears, they brought in Jacob Duffy, another new ball option. They will be very reliant on whether Lockie Ferguson is available to play. If he's not, they will be a little bit thin through those middle overs in terms of wicket-taking opportunities outside of the spin of Satner and Bracewell. So they'll be really sweating on the likes of Lockie Ferguson. He bowled 3 overs in the warm-up game against Afghanistan, which is a good sign, but it's just whether New Zealand are going to risk him in that such important game, the first game of the Champions Trophy against Pakistan and Karachi. That's pretty much a must-win for both games, in my view. New Zealand, from a batting point of view, the only other decision is who's going to bat at the top, whether it's going to be Conway and Rachin Ravindra. That's assuming Rachin recovers from the head knock that he got at the Lahore Stadium in that first game of the tri-series. If he doesn't, Will Young will come in. Otherwise, the rest of the lineup is very settled, and they will head into the Champions Trophy full of confidence. Pool A, I think, will be a 3-horse race for the 2 spots. India, I think, will progress. As I said, they've got the advantage of playing at the ground in Dubai, and they've got a high-quality squad. And then it'll be Pakistan and New Zealand fighting it out for that second playoff spot. I don't think Bangladesh will feature due to the fact I think they're playing at venues that don't suit their squad as much as it does other squads. For me, I think New Zealand have arrived with a huge amount of confidence. They will be one of the teams to beat in this Champions Trophy. I think, therefore, they will progress to the semi-finals along with India. Group B has England, Australia, South Africa and Afghanistan. Well, England have arrived at the Champions Trophy after a really tough tour of India, and no doubt their confidence would have been dented after suffering a number of losses and some pretty poor ones in India as well. Now, they have had an injury or two, and that has affected the balance of their squad, but they're heading to different venues. They've left India, they're going to play 2 games in Lahore, which is a really good surface, but will be affected by dew later on, therefore the toss will come into play, and Karachi as well. So that will suit the fact that England love chasing. Now, in terms of their squad balance, a little bit concerning, that they've lost Jacob Bethel. Now, Jacob Bethel, sure, he batted at 6 as a finisher, but he was replaced by Tom Banton. Now, the second part of Jacob Bethel's game is that he bowls left-arm spin, and England have really struggled to, I guess, balance out their spin bowling attack. Obviously, Adil Rashid will be exceptional and will be very valuable in these conditions. Livingston is going to have to bowl, and he can bowl his off spin or his leg spin, but they'll miss Bethel. And pretty much they've got the option, I guess, of someone like Jamie Smith or Jamie Overton. And that would mean that they basically play 4 seamers. Now, that would be fine at a place like Rawalpindi where it doesn't spin at all, but they're not playing there. As I said, they're playing 2 games in Lahore and 1 at Karachi, where I think spin will be critical. So that decision of who's going to bat at 7 is the most vital one in terms of having a balanced attack for England. Outside of that, they've got plenty of airspeed and the likes of Archer and Wood. That will be important. And they do have a power-packed batting lineup with the experience and composure of Joe Root batting at 3. So England will be a threat during this tournament. They're going to have to get some confidence early, however. Well, Australia are certainly not the side that we expect to see when it comes to world events like this Champions Trophy. You're missing Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, so the big 3 are all out. You're missing Mitch Marsh, you're missing Stoinis, so you're missing that all-round capability. So the side looks very different in this Champions Trophy, and they're going to rely heavily, obviously, on Steve Smith, who's taken over the captaincy, the likes of Glenn Maxwell, who thrives, in spin-friendly conditions. There's low bounce in the venues that Australia are going to play. They're going to play at 3 different venues, so Maxwell, I think, will be a key player. Matt Short will be interesting. Take on the new ball, and I think playing against the new ball and scoring runs in the power play is going to be critical for Australia to get ahead of the game, because they probably don't have that experience at the back end. If you look at the bowling, you're talking Hardy, Abbott, Ellis, Spencer Johnson. Now, all very good bowlers in their own right, but not the names that I mentioned before. Spencer Johnson, they're going to rely on heavily to take genuine new ball wickets. Aaron Hardy will likely take the new ball with them because he does swing it. And the likes of Nathan Ellis is very good at the back end if the game gets close. But for me, Zampa will be the key from a bowling point of view, and whether Tangveer Sangha comes into the playing 11 as the tournament progresses. The risk, however, of playing 2 leg spinners is if Dew comes in, and all 3 venues that Australia are playing at, Dew will be a factor. Well, South Africa will enter this Champions Trophy full of confidence, albeit missing a few key senior bowlers. The likes of Nokia is out, the likes of Kutsia is out. So those replacements, the like of Corbin Bosch, Muller, don't have the same name or the same ring about them from a confidence point of view. But in terms of the playing 11, the squad looks strong. You've got Ryan Rickelton at the top along with Bavuma. Rickelton has been in incredible form the last 12 months. Obviously a left-hander at the top. He will thrive in the conditions that South Africa are likely to play, which includes playing Australia and Rawalpindi. Flat wicket, high scoring. I think he's someone obviously to keep an eye on. That middle order, Van der Dusen, Markram, Klaasen and Miller, that's as good as there is throughout this whole tournament. Power-packed left, right-handers, and a number of them are at the peak of their powers in terms of where their career is at the moment. Marco Jansen and Rabada, 2 new ball bowlers who any side would be concerned about. Obviously Jansen, that bounce, Rabada, the all-round skill and pace. And then they've got Ngidi. Now, Ngidi for me is a bit of a concern. If he gets it right, then South Africa will be hard to beat, I believe. He's had a real mix of injuries. He came back into the SA20 and was genuinely a mixture in terms of performance. If he can get it right as a third seamer, then I think South African bowling unit looks strong with Maharaj, who's a fantastic left-arm spinner and has got better and better with age, and Shamsi as well. So they've got all bases covered at the moment. As I said, I don't think they've quite got the depth of maybe some of the better squads, but their playing 11 looks very strong and they'll be hard to beat. Afghanistan's recent record in ODI cricket since 2022 has been very good, but a lot of it has been on the back of playing in Dubai. And Dubai obviously spins, especially some of the surfaces that Afghanistan have played on. And their spinners are the best of anywhere in the world, really. When the likes of Rashid Khan, Muhammad Nabi, hugely experienced. They have lost Gazamfa, however, that sort of mystery bowler, the likes of Mujib, and they've replaced him with a finger spinner. So they've got a choice whether they go with a left-arm spinner or another off spinner. So spin bowling will not be an issue. But if we look at the venues, so we're talking Karachi and Lahore, and so they're not playing any games in Dubai at all. As I said, dew will become a factor. Now, their seam bowling of Faruqi and Naveen is still good, and Gulbuddin Naib sort of as that third seam is still good, but not as effective on surfaces that are flat or if they have dew. Now, Afghanistan's batting, however, is a lot stronger in the ODI format than we've seen in the past. Gurbaz has been in tremendous form, including another 100 against New Zealand in the latest warm-up game, but he's in fine touch. Obviously opens with Zadran, and they were very good in the 2023 World Cup. Rahmat Shah, for me, is that sort of glue that holds that top order together, and then Amarzai is that X-factor player who, sure, he could bowl with a new ball, he can swing it, so he'd be that third or fourth seamer, and can bat anywhere in the order. So, Afghanistan have many threats. As I said, some of them are that spin bowling threat where I don't think they will come into play quite as much in this Champions Trophy. Therefore, I think they'll cause some upsets. I'm not sure how far they'll go, though. Now, Group B, I think, will be very tight with all 4 teams coming into contention. I think South Africa will progress. As I said, I think they've got a very strong playing 11. The other 3 will be battling for the other spot. And for me, Australia's very much come back to the pack, and they'll be fighting it out with England and Afghanistan. For me, I think if England get confidence right early, they've got enough match winners to progress through the semi-final along with South Africa.